Ready, man. Ready. Hey! Gonna take a lot to drag you away from me. There's nothing that 100 million more men could ever do. And I suck singing. I bless the rains down in Africa. Gonna take the time to do the things we never had. Well, there's a reason why I'm singing that in such great harmony. That's going to be a laid-back topic that we're going to talk about later after we get done with some serious stuff and catch up with Doug and Karen Monda, who I have here tonight. Welcome them back into the United States of America.
Hello, hello.
Thank you.
We're going to definitely indulge on their dream trip. I think, is that your second trip out to Africa?
Yep.
People will die to go out there for just one time and never have that opportunity and put it on a bucket list, and the bucket runs dry and they never seem to get there. They usually wind up in the casket before they can get to that place. But the two of them were blessed enough to be on a second trip to Africa, and I'll tell you what, they've got some real intense video footage of up and close animals, and I mean just things that you would never believe, that they put their life in the hands of a African tour guide, right? He wasn't from Britain, he was from Africa, right?
Yeah, no, these guys are, the real deal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man. So, and they were in a vehicle with no roof, or was it a Jeep or something?
Yeah,
And
it's a Land Rover,
Yeah.
but it's got no roof.
so we'll get into that about that. But I want to welcome everybody back to the Vinnie Marino podcast. We had a little hiatus. It seems like I've been gone forever, but last week we had some, the studio, producer Jesse's studio with Space Coast Podcast, had an anomaly with their equipment, and there was some problem with streaming, and, we could have did a show, but it would have been taped, and I don't like doing taped. I like doing live. So we postponed last week, and we were going to have Doug on then, and Doug was traveling. Like I said, he was all over the world. And when he got back from Africa, he was in somewhere else at some conference, and he's been gone everywhere. And Karen's been lucky enough to be able to travel with him because it's summer break. And Karen's got a lot of free time. And well, we're going to catch up on a couple news things, and then we're going to get right into Doug and Karen. They got a lot of important information to update us on the Survive First Foundation. So let's go with, let me start off with last week. They had the kickoff of Donald Trump's current president rally. Did you guys watch that?
No,
It was 80 minutes. Were you guys in Africa?
I was somewhere.
Yeah, but he spoke for 80 minutes. He did a really good. I think he did a really good kickoff. He was in Orlando. They had a lot of protesters, and they had the big thing. They took a GoFundMe page, and these liberals, snowflakes, they had a blow-up doll of Donald Trump and baby diapers, and they were out there parading around like fools. But I thought it was kind of funny. I looked up something, and Donald Trump, we all know, is very outspoken. He really, does what he does, and I'm sure he pisses a lot of his staff off because, they're telling him no, 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 and he does whatever he does. But I looked up some of the names that he's calling some of these Democratic contenders for the 2020 election. And if you know any of them, Bernie Sanders, you know what he nicknames him? I thought it was funny. Crazy Bernie Sanders. He's got Creepy Joe Biden, also Sleepy Joe Biden, 1% Joe Biden, which I think is, then there's Elizabeth Warren. He calls her Pocahontas. There's another guy called Pete Buttigieg. I don't know. They call him Alfred Newman. Snow Woman Amy Klobuchar. Lightweight Kirsten Gillibrand. Bill de Blasio, he calls him the worst mayor in the United States, which I agree with him on that.
Who's he a mayor for? Do you know?
Who?
The guy you just said.
That guy, de Blasio? He's a mayor in New York.
Oh.
Oh, he sucks, man. He sucks. I don't know if the NYPD like him, but by the way, you'll see me drinking this red cup. Doug brought in, and we'll get into that too, but Doug is sponsoring the drinks tonight. It was supplied to us by the Dirty Ore, not the Dirty Whore that people have. When you say it, if you gotta hear it twice. Dirty Ore, Dirty Ore.
Especially me, because
Yeah.
talk funny.
I'm surprised. They supplied Doug with a beer that they are going to sponsor for Doug. It's going to in the name of Survive First for his foundation. So all the proceeds will go towards his foundation and his cause that he's been so desperately trying to get the word out. And hopefully he's getting a lot of good reception from agencies all over the United States.
Oh yeah.
But and it's a tell us what it is real quick, Doug.
Well, I'm a
He's
very
probably gonna have to read it.
yeah. I'm a very uneducated beer person.
You need my
but-
glasses?
No.
Oh, it's an
no.
old man writing. It's big.
Yeah. So the Dirty Ore made it, obviously.
And they are
They're a brewery in Cocoa Village.
Uh-huh.
They're next to Norman's, right there on 520 and Hewlett on the corner. They've been real big supporters of law enforcement since they opened up. They've They actually provided all the free beer at the 5K we did last January. But anyway, they approached us. They said that, hey, we want to make this beer for your foundation. 100% of the proceeds will, whenever somebody buys Everyone's Hero, will go to Survive First.
awesome. They believe in the cause.
Absolutely.
And we're also going to touch in, once we get into the Survive First Foundation, we're going to come up with some newly published statistics as far as the amount of suicides and comparisons to line of duty deaths. And but that is a 7.8. I tasted it. I'm not a beer drinker, but I couldn't nail the flavor down. But producer Jesse, who is he brought in a Bud Light, but we just tainted him with this Dirty Ore beer, and he hit the nail on the head. It tastes like a citrusy grapefruit type thing. I couldn't figure it out because but it's very good. It's a IP. Is that what they call it?
It's an IPA. It's 7.8% alcohol. That's pretty important to me.
If you
But
go,
that's the important part for me.
Yeah.
But
if you go to our Facebook page, there is a very good description in
Chris.
the video. Yes, Chris
Chris, one of the
gives,
owners, he made
actually
it.
made the beer, and he
Yeah.
gives a very good description.
And it's going to be on
how it's
Survive First Facebook page. You can see that. But we're gonna get into that, and we'll talk more about the Survive First Foundation. We'll talk more about the Dirty Ore. We'll talk about their African safari, and that is I'm telling you right now, man, that I'd be scared shitless if you've seen the videos, and I think she might have it on her page, but they were within an arm's length of a gigantic elephant, and who knows what them things will do. But so
I know what he was
what do
doing.
you think about this? I've been watching this, and I'm going, why the hell are people still going over there? The American deaths in the Dominican Republic. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on with that country. There was 10 deaths in the last year, and people are still going there. I don't get it. I mean,
I think it's been even more recently.
I think I looked at it was about 10 deaths, and just recently there was one on like June 10th or June 19th. But what the F is going on? I mean, I don't know where they're, I don't get it. There's one guy over there, I watched an interview. He was a billionaire, a Dominican Republic billionaire, and he's telling, that, hey, man, the U.S. have bad habits. They drink a lot. They don't get health checks, and they die. So he's blaming on that. He said, this country's safe. My families have never had problems. I got kids, but he's a billionaire. You think he walks the streets of the Dominican Republic? No.
He's got.
So-
and when you go to the DR, you're not cruising around neighborhoods or cities. Those places you stay at the resort. It's not.
Well,
like-
I think they were saying at the Hard Rock, and they're drinking out of that, supposedly the liquor bar.
I could probably pretty much nail it on the head what the issue is. The issue, it's the same thing in Mexico. It's the same thing in South Central America. They're such poor countries that when you're poor and you're starving, you will do some desperate things.
Desperate people do desperate measures.
I've seen it with my own eyes, and
Yeah.
I've experienced it. And I could tell you countless stories of where they would, they'll kill you in Brazil for your shoes.
Yeah.
So,
Make sure I wear flip-flops.
we can
fit right in.
We keep it up, we're going to end up just like it.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
know what I
things
mean?
are getting increasingly worse here. We've got a lot of officers being killed in the last couple weeks. I want to touch on another little thing that I've been watching, trying to keep up with, but it's really tight-lipped. They don't show any videos or anything. Is there that Navy SEAL that's on trial for murder? He's being court-martialed, and supposedly it's a Chief Edward Gallagher. He's a 19-year vet in the Navy. He was a Navy SEAL, and supposedly he supposedly stabbed one ISIS prisoner, one who's directly a terrorist, and he was at a sniper post, and he shot and killed some civilians. So he's on trial right now. The defense has now got the case, and he thinks he's going to be vindicated. One of the SEALs who was testifying against him, who brought it up, originally said that he saw him stab one of the prisoners, had said on the stand now that, no, I choked one of them to death. So now everything's getting twisted, and the president of the United States, no matter who it is, Trump, Obama, anybody, they have the right to pardon, and Donald Trump was already considering pardon this Navy SEAL on the war crimes. They have that authority to pardon them. So that was that trial's going on. I wish the guy the best. The guys. Who the hell is gonna? I understand we can't do certain things, but they want death to America, and but I don't think that he did what he did. So
I don't care if he did it or not. He needs a walk.
Yeah, I mean, and the guys who ratted on him, if he did it, I mean, that's just my opinion.
They'll give him his deal.
Yeah, and then last week I thought another story was funny, and it comes to the all the shit that's coming into this country. The federal agents seized $1 billion worth of cocaine from a shipping boat, shipping tanker coming in. It was the largest bust in the United States. 16.5 tons of cocaine. Okay, they called the container ship was at the Freeport and Grand Bahamas, and it had been to Panama, Peru, and Colombia, and it was on its way to the Netherlands. But we got it over here. It was in one of our ports. So they basically brought dogs on the ship, and the dogs probably, they had it in these little containers, these cargo shipping containers inside the ship. So they all got arrested.
There's some pissed off people in the Netherlands.
Oh my God, yeah. If it was going there. And then also I heard today that Dog the Bounty Hunter, his wife, Beth Chapman, had succumbed to her throat cancer and died today at a young age of 51. That's very sad.
That's really young.
People want to say what they want about Dog, but he's a good guy. He loved his wife. Till the very end. He was very involved with his wife and her recovery and all that was going on through that. Another story I want to touch on I thought was kind of funny was Walt Disney World. A woman filed a lawsuit after she suffered traumatic brain injury and herniated disc in her neck after she was struck in the head by at a Disney resort by a bird.
I read that.
No, by a bird. And this was in May of 2017. Her attorney claims that the force from the bird was like being hit in the head by a baseball. So she accuses Disney of failing to properly warn visitors of the dangers seasonal nesting birds pose towards tourists. So she was walking along a dock at the Polynesian resort, and one of these fucking birds came flying along and hit her in the head. And she, Jesus Christ, she's now suing them, and I guarantee you, it ain't like the poor kid that got eaten by the alligator.
No, that's tragic.
This girl here, anybody where they see, you know what? In my opinion, fuck Disney in a sense, because all they do is rip people off. They raise prices, and they're offering right now. I hear they're offering a law enforcement, first responders deal. So if you're interested, look it up. I think it's for hotels, not for the resorts.
Have you had your ice cream taken by a seagull at Magic Kingdom?
That's what you had? Them seagulls are vicious.
Several times.
Seagulls are vicious.
Maybe we should hire an attorney.
Yeah, man, I'll tell you.
I'm traumatized from a kid from that Snow White, man. That shit scared the hell out of me, man.
Back in the day.
I ain't been on it since. And then them little creepy things, man. What's it, babe? You're in the boat. And little fucking creatures.
It's a Small World.
Holy shit, dude!
Oh, you talking about the ride?
Yeah,
the
he's
ride.
terrified of the ride.
Them little freaking voodoo
You have a midget phobia?
I'm scared of everything.
Clown phobia.
Clowns. Oh my! So you never seen the movie It?
Oh fuck!
No.
Oh, dude, I'd love to say I'd pay for your popcorn.
Man, my career at Coco PD, that's all they did. Them jackasses hired clowns to come into the apartment. They put them in my car, man. They put marionettes in my car. They were always messing with me, man.
Oh my God!
It was good fun, though. The guys laughed. It sucked for me, but I was glad all my guys got to get a kick out of it.
And one more thing that I found interesting that. We got this the women's soccer team. The U.S. women's soccer team. I don't know who they played a couple weeks ago, but they beat the shit out of them. They had like the most goals any team has ever scored. I don't know, 13. What was it, producer Jesse?
Yeah, I think it was
14,
like 13.
yeah, and people were complaining because the American girls were cheering too much, and I mean, get over it, man.
Well, in soccer, man, that's a disgrace. You shouldn't do that.
And what pissed me off is now you think that this bullshit that Colin Kaepernick started with the kneeling has been set aside. No, this girl from she's the star player on the team, Megan Rapinoe. I can't pronounce her name. I really don't care to pronounce it right, so I hope I'm butchering it. She's kneeling for the national anthem. She won't even sing it. She won't do anything. And Donald Trump had told the soccer team that he's going to invite them to the White House, win or lose. And she responds, "I am not going to no fucking White House." So, I mean, and
you see what happened to her? I think it was yesterday.
No, what happened?
She set the bench for the whole game.
Well, good for her. I mean,
a little taste.
Yeah, I mean, come on, man. I mean, again, they're doing this kneeling crap. I think the NFL got their talking to. I don't think we'll see that anymore through the NFL.
I hope not.
If they want to kneel, they can kneel in the locker room or anything else. But I think they came into that.
I see where all these people are coming from, and I agree with them in a sense. But I think there's a time and a place for everything. And I think when it comes to disrespecting your country in any shape or fashion, it shouldn't be done in certain capacities. I mean, you don't go to another country like the World Cup,
right,
and go into another country and kneel down and disrespect your country.
How's it look?
And in front of it, on a world stage. So she should be sitting on the bench.
Yeah.
Like there's a time and a place, and part of her argument in the women's soccer team. I just had this conversation with Karen yesterday. They want equal rights of paying for the professional females, and I get it. They deserve it.
Like in women's golf, it's totally different from the men's golf in pay.
But you also got to understand, if you look at the Women's World Cup and the Men's World Cup, you better buy your ticket 5 years in advance.
Oh yeah, well they draw a bigger crowd. I mean,
there's empty seats. Half the stadium's empty for the women, so it doesn't bring the revenue. So you're going to get paid by the revenue. When I played soccer professionally, it was $30,000 a year contract. It was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't leave my house for $30,000 now.
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, let's look at it. The WNBA, they don't have they don't draw the revenue. They don't have the sponsors, so they can't pay them. Golf is the same thing. Now, women's volleyball, maybe because they wear bikinis and shit, and guys watch it. They just watch it for the bikinis, I always wondered, why do they have to wear that for the evocative shit? But they know the game, man. I mean, I'd watch it. I mean, why do I care about a Victoria's Secret lingerie show? I ain't gonna buy it, but it's good to look at, so it brings the ratings up. But women's golf, they don't have the sponsors, man. It doesn't draw the attention that the men's do. I mean, men basketball, they slam dunk, they're roughhousing. Golf, they hit the ball like fucking rockets, So, but yeah, so you know what? Hey, man, it is what it is, man. It's never.
I still wish him luck.
Yeah, man.
Man, soccer's my sport.
Man. Win or lose, man. The president's inviting him to the White House, and if that girl doesn't want to go, shame on her, man. Yeah. So, and he said, win or lose, they're coming.
If you got a problem with the president, if her grief or beef or whatever is with the president, why would you not want to go to his house and pull him aside and go, "Hey, jackass, I got an issue with this. Can we talk about it?" Instead of rooting him, you know what I mean?
Yep. Well, tonight at 9 o'clock, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a break here in just a minute, and we're gonna come back and we're gonna dive right into the Survive First. But tonight at 9 o'clock is the part one of two of the enormous army of Democrats that are trying to put Donald Trump to sleep on 2020. They all have a dream. Tonight's going to be the first 10. I think the ones who they really are looking out for is just Elizabeth Warren. They all worried about where they're lined up on the stage, what it plays a part on. The joke is going to be, this Cory Booker, whatever. The Senator Booker. You got 4 senators, former House of Representatives. One guy's a mayor, and one guy's a former HUD secretary. So, whatever. They're only going to get like 60 seconds apiece. It's going to be a big freaking commercial. They're not going to be able to do anything but just run their mouth for 60 seconds. And then tomorrow night we'll have Sleepy Joe and Crazy Bernie, who wants to get rid of everybody's college tuition, which is going to be a fun way to what he's going to do with that. And Karen, your chair is sinking more and more. Pretty soon you're going to be on the damn floor.
I keep moving.
Karen's chair is going down. She's about third grade level right now.
I put on about 10 pounds in Africa.
Oh yeah. Gonna take some time to put me away from you.
She needs a
Hey,
booster.
we're gonna take a quick break, and then we're gonna come right back in with some Survive First updates and which direction they've been going and where they've been. So stay tuned. We'll be just gone for a minute. Don't go away. We're done with all that bullshit gossip, so it's time to get serious.
Hey, make sure you check out Space Cowboy Justice with your hosts, Blake Stewart and Paul Daly. We're going to be talking about interesting legal issues in the entertainment industry and everything geek. If you're into Star Wars, Star Trek, Lord of the Rings, comic books, we're talking about it. Coming at you from the Space Coast Podcast Studios.
Steven,
Why, yes, Christopher.
what are you doing?
I am scribing down some ideas for the next podcast of the Black Dog Confessional.
Oh, Mitzi had spoke of that. She said it is rather wonderful.
Well, you know, we tried to succeed, Christopher. We tried to succeed. We're talking about all the proper etiquette techniques that we can this week.
Do you think everyone is listening?
I definitely believe so, Christopher.
Well, if they're not, they better get on their game! You're listening to Space Coast Podcast, home of the greatest podcasts on the Space Coast. If you're interested in becoming a sponsor or having your own show, email us at spacecoastpodcast@hotmail.com.
Space Coast Podcast.
Talk hard!
Hey, welcome back. I told you it was only going to be a short break because we only got a few commercials. Again, I want to welcome everybody that's listening and everybody that's to listen to come. I want to thank producer Jesse for providing the studio. We were a little bit later tonight. Usually we're at 7 o'clock, but tonight we had to start a little bit later. Again, I'm retired, but I have a lot of shit that I'm doing that means nothing. So we're back here with Doug and Karen Monda. I'd like to welcome them back. What we're going to do is we're going to catch up a little bit with Survive First and see where they've been. And, I want to touch and see. I haven't heard much on the honor walk, so I don't know what's going on with that, so we'll get into that as well. So, Karen, if you want to start us off, just tell us where you've been. Where's Survive First been in the last few months? Because I know it's been a few months since we had you guys on and really talked about the foundation and the things you've been doing to raise money to keep the wheels turning.
Well, I think since the last time we've been here, Doug has done a lot of traveling to Baltimore, out to Arizona again, I think, right? Where else? I was at the end of the school year, so my mind just went Utah, and then this week actually, a few days ago, we got back from Saddlebrook, over on the Gulf Coast for the Florida Police Chiefs Association conference, and that was just incredible. We met a lot of amazing chiefs that truly
And this is, where was that at?
Just north of Tampa.
Okay.
Wesley
Yes, I
Chapel.
did see that.
Wesley
I did
Chapel,
see that. You guys were there.
And it was great because we got to just talk to a lot of chiefs out there that really have their officers' backs, and they truly believe in what we're doing, what other organizations are doing, and we really see that they're ready to make a change.
So Doug, do you see? I know a lot of people, they say they believe, but are they really taking action when it comes to the awareness and education, or do they have it in a training block where do they have that implemented yet in some agencies in a training block that they, like we used to have, and whether if it's a 40-hour mandatory retraining, whether they throw it in there in a 3-hour or 4-hour block of awareness of suicides. And I mean, because it all starts from I think from post-traumatic stress, but sometimes a lot of these guys bring their personal problems, and it's not maybe so related to their job, but they have a lot of personal problems, and it's just, I don't know. I mean, it seems, we do you have it where it was actually, could you separate the ones that were killed themselves from direct related from something work, or is it a lot of them are, if you get statistics and you get the cause and how the mannerism?
I can tell you from my own experience. So I had 2 failed attempts. It wasn't from the job. It was the totality of circumstances, as us cop knows that term, of a cumulative is what they told me. It's a cumulative. Am I saying that right?
Cumulative.
My wife will say
She's a teacher.
Right?
I'm a speech therapist.
It's really not. I mean, this is some strong beer, but it's.
Give him some Cheerios. He practices with some Cheerios.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, blame it on the beard.
I called my mom the other day. She didn't even know it was me. She
I
thought it was
mine.
my brother. And I go, with my stupid voice, like getting scratchy, you didn't know it was me.
I
But
finished
anyway,
my beer. Did you finish yours?
No, I'm nursing it.
Hey.
I'm a vodka drinker. This
Yeah.
is some serious stuff.
Don't put
here.
it in my cup if you ain't gonna finish it. If you're gonna nurse it, man, I'll finish it.
Now you got me drooling on myself, Vinnie, man. You got me on live TV drinking beer, and this is that. We got to have a little saying about that. But
Yeah.
anyway, my own experience, I liked my job. I liked doing my job. I really liked the team of guys I was around. I liked my employers, all that. But it was the accumulative of stuff. Now, when I was at work, I'm a hard worker. I was a go-getter, running and gunning. But when I would go home, I didn't have a good home life. And so that's when I really lost my stuff, is when I was at home. So I truly believe it could be one particular thing that could drive you over. Some guys, like, for example, a young man that worked for Palm Bay a few years ago who affected me horribly, was part of my second downfall. He moved into my neighborhood. I had to pass his house every day. He was a Palm Bay cop. And I saw the Palm Bay cop car, and he lived at a corner of a triangle, and I had to, you either went left or right, and I'd pass him. And I would always say, hey, man, I'm going to stop by there and say hi to this kid, see if he ever wants anything, if he needs my help, whatever, just be cop friendly. And because I was in my own self-pity, I never did that. I'd see him out front with his dog. He had a shepherd, right? And I would just keep blowing by. And I think at the time I had a black and white. I don't even know if I was in a dope car. But anyway, his girlfriend broke up with him. He was 25 years old. He got home from work one day, walked through the house, the backyard, as the story's told. I don't know the exact facts. Put a gun in his head, pulled the trigger, and killed himself. And it bothered me so much, because I was like, if I could have just had 5 minutes of that kid's time,
Sure.
if I would have gave him my 5 minutes, I probably could have said, man, there is really, man, at 25, some
So
chick-
you're not gonna. I mean, I think every opportunity you get now, I don't think you're gonna let that
I don't
slip
play,
by.
no.
Yeah.
And I tell chiefs, and I've done it. There are plenty of guys will tell you, man, I don't care what time of the night it is, what day it is. I've jumped on a plane within an hour and flew to freaking another state to help a cop. And, I just, and it's funny, because some people who probably know me go, man, he's a freaking giant asshole. Like, why would he want to help people? Which, I'd agree with him. But I just don't want any cop to ever go without. I'm lucky, man. I'm
Right.
a cockroach. You can't kill me, man, right? I've proven it like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
So I don't want any cop to have to go through that. And I say cop because I'm surrounded by, but the same for firefighters. We help tons of firefighters.
Well, it extends even to just people that aren't in the first responding field.
Yeah,
Well-
I get people from veterinarians. I
Yeah.
get all kinds of ways of life.
Yeah. So this
now.
is not just specifically because do you have a PowerPoint presentation and the actual signs and symptoms? What like?
I want to touch on just two things really quick. One is what you guys were just talking about, how Doug said if he would have just stopped one time, maybe that would have made a difference. And there's a big myth out there that saying something to somebody that you think is really suffering might actually push them over the edge, and that's a myth.
Yeah.
Just saying something like, hey, are you okay, or just something positive can be life changing.
It alters his train of thought.
Yes,
and it derails him. It's like, whoa,
absolutely.
wait a minute,
and then the other
two random act of kindness.
Yeah.
Simple random act
Yes.
of kindness saved my life twice.
And then the other thing that I think is important is the buzzword today is PTSD. That's really,
I think that word is
of,
I think that's overly thrown out there.
Yes, because actually the data shows that depression and anxiety among first responders is far more prevalent than PTSD. There is PTSD out there, and there's a lot of it, but the data actually shows that much of what first responders are going through really is depression and anxiety. And so we need to remember that, and we need to think about that when we think about our cops, our firefighters, dispatch, corrections, that they may not be going through something from a traumatic event. They may just be depressed because of things that are happening at home or financial problems. So.
Right. Are you guys versed on PTSD, post-traumatic stress? Like when you go out and you talk about the signs and symptoms of post-traumatic stress, and it is
Yes.
depression, and you withdraw yourself from things,
Yes.
and it could be fatigue,
Behavioral changes.
a lot of that. And then do you guys touch on that? And then, because it doesn't mean just because you have that you're suicidal.
Right.
You're not, because I have those symptoms, and I've never been suicidal. I mean, but I have those symptoms of that. Am I suicidal? Absolutely not. No way. But you have those, the depression, the anxiety, the hyperness.
But when you start to notice those subtle changes, those subtle things, that really is when you need to step forward and begin to seek help, or begin to talk to people. Or if we start noticing those subtle changes in our brothers and sisters, that's when we need to step forward and say, hey, is there something going on? I'm noticing these changes in you. Not look at them and say, well, he's acting like an asshole all of a sudden, and push them aside, because it's a behavioral change, and we need to act then.
Do you have, and I noticed that, cops are big on these little, because I used to have them on a Miranda cards, they're on a thing. Do you guys have something that you can shrink down and laminate and, symptoms of this, and then throw it in their mailboxes at the police stations, or hand them out,
Absolutely.
and tell the guys, keep it on them? And review this, because you never know the life you may save. It might be your zone partner, your family member, when you see that.
That happened to me. The very first time that I spoke was in Seattle, and it was a big crowd. It was like an auditorium, like the King Center, and I watched this kid get up and leave. He's a deputy. He was in uniform, and he left, and he ended up leaving. And on stage, you see everything. I'm like, oh man, I remember going, man, I must suck. The guy just left. But what he did was, when I was discussing the signs and symptoms of what I went through and what to look for, he left and went and got his zone partner and said, hey, you need to come with me. Brought him back. He didn't talk to me. He talked to some other guys. And when they talked to him, he goes, yeah, you're right. I was going to go home and shoot myself tonight. So I stress that, like, hey, listen, because, it's funny, cops. Like, I'll go and speak at a department in front of, 30 cops in a room, and they're all looking at me like I'm a jerk, and they all got that stank-ass attitude and that stank look on their face.
Well, because they feel like they're so hardcore that it's never going to happen to them,
And I tell them, because I had the same stank look up until I quit. Like, nobody wanted to sit in a class. And so I tell them, like, hey, it may not be you, but it could be your son, it could be your neighbor, it could be your zone partner. So just listen and pay attention. And it's great. And through the course that I teach, when I have these certain conversations with them, every cop in the room is in tuned and agrees and says, oh yeah, I do that. Oh yeah, I have that. It's inevitable. It comes with the career. I mean, I don't care who you are, you're going to experience it.
Right. I've never actually, and God damn, I tell you, I need to really travel with you on one of your trips. But I've never seen actually a presentation. But I unfortunately, with law enforcement deaths, okay, on duty deaths, there's usually some kind of capture of a video, and we're able to train. They show the faults of the officer, and we learn from that. Unfortunately, we learn from their tragic death by what they did wrong, and we try to correct it. And unfortunately, with suicides, you don't have that opportunity to say. But are you able to obtain the MO basically of what they did and who they? Because it's very private.
Yes.
It's kind of hard.
Why the numbers are skewed, I guess. Today, Blue Health posted today. There's been 100 so far. Yesterday or today.
So we're at about 100.
We're at about 100. I think it's 100. I could be wrong.
Yeah, and I looked
but we know that's more.
But
that's been reported. I mean, right. it's got to be more
and verified because they go and they verify everything. They do a great job.
And prior to the show, because it's always. And I was telling Karen, it's consistently the suicides in law enforcement consistently surpass the line of duty deaths in law enforcement,
which is insane.
60 law enforcement to date, which is a lot. We've been getting a lot, been getting killed. I always get updates, and I usually share it on my Facebook of just to give awareness to people to realize what the fuck these guys deal with. And these guys are getting killed. They're like being ambushed, and not off duty or on duty. Off duty, there's been people being followed and they've been shot in the head. What the hell's going? I don't get it. So we have 60 law enforcement deaths in the line of duty and 100 reported. Now we're not counting the ones that have been reported because suicides. The media they never want to report suicides. Once they find it's a suicide, they don't report it.
No, and there's sometimes good reasonings behind it.
Of course,
they're trying
of course.
To
but when we want awareness, you can't just go by. Well, we think. I mean, and that's it's the truth though. They don't report it. I mean, I've seen many times where we were on calls, and the news media is funneled out there, and then when they find out it's a suicide, they pull away and they don't report a damn thing.
Yeah. Do you think that's because, in general,
they don't want to glorify it? I think.
That's what I've heard. They don't want to glorify it,
right.
And especially today because
unless they kill somebody and then kill themselves, then they'll report it. Murder suicide.
Right.
It's like
And we've had that happen here in Florida a couple times. One department I just met with their chief the other day, and it impacted the department heavily. Which let me answer that question because the first thing you asked me earlier was about the chiefs and and what areas are doing it. And yes, there are plenty of chiefs out there that are addressing it and implementing it. And there are certain areas, like Arizona is doing wonderful stuff in Arizona. There's certain areas. I personally think Florida, I think we're doing a horrible job. We're behind the curve. There's certain chiefs. There's quite a few here in the Satellite Beach, Cocoa. I'm going to tell you, Cocoa, Mike Cantaloupe saved my life.
Yeah.
Indian Harbor Beach, Rockledge. I meet with a lot. I just met with Titusville the other day. They're all on board. So it's just a matter of discussions taking place and implement it. Some say, mental health has been implemented, mandatory. And I've seen Doug Levine's on there. I love you, Doug, man. Thank you. Doug, you might be able to answer this. Did they mandate it in the departments, or maybe Todd's on there? Todd, hey, if anybody's excused from Friday, you are, man. You and your wife are wonderful people, man.
and me, because I have to umpire a baseball game,
gotta
unfortunately.
So let me just tell you something real quick. Chris Fields has chimed in, and he said little laminated cards with signs. If you don't know Chris Fields, I'm sorry, Chris.
Is he the laminated? Is he the laminated
Chris,
king?
Remember the Oklahoma bombing?
Yeah.
Remember the
he's the
famous
guy.
picture?
Yes,
That's
he's the
Chris.
guy. Yeah.
Chris is a great friend.
He was on the magazine.
Yeah, he's on the cover of the magazine.
Of not something brilliant, but it was a tragic event that landed him on the cover.
Obviously, and it affected him heavily in his life, ruined his life. He's an advocate for mental health. He is the firefighter's main guy. He's another guy who answers his phone every day for anybody who needs help. We work together when we get the chance, and the plan is to bring them out here in the fall for the stair climb.
Wow, that's nice.
We do. Just to go back to, do we have those cards with signs and symptoms? And for Chris, yes. One, if you go to our website, we have a graphic there that shows all the signs and symptoms. But that very same graphic we have printed out in a small card. And at every conference, we give out hundreds. They're in all of our informational packets, and then we have a stack, and we say, to everyone who picks up a packet, please here, take more. Post them around your department. And anyone who would need a whole bunch of them, they can email us, contact
Yeah, because it'd be
us, and
nice
we would send
if
those
you
out.
could get into the precincts and the agencies and actually, have them stick them in each one
Absolutely.
of their mailboxes.
Yeah,
One side basically would be, post-traumatic stress signs and symptoms, and then, suicide, however you guys would tips, and recognizing, suicide.
And a phone number to call
Yeah.
us or website.
Yeah, man, because-
Actually, John Blackledge.
Yes, that's
who's,
it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, he's
John-
a reserve guy, man. He's
yeah.
the training guru.
John is a huge advocate for Survive First. He's my mentor. He basically has helped this get up from the ground up, him and Doug Muldoon from Palm Bay. And John said, hey, we need to come up with like a keychain or a card or something that, instead of coins, because,
Yeah.
I got millions of them. I'm not carrying them.
Right.
But something cool that guys could put in their cars and have on them. And we just haven't come up with the right idea yet. Outside of the cards, that you just showed, we have some of those out there. But nothing works better than a conversation.
Sure.
Absolutely.
It's been the best thing for me. You had asked me, about teaching and all that stuff. Obviously, I don't have any sort of degree or, education, anything like that.
You have a degree from working the streets for many years. You got knowledge that people that sit in a classroom can't get.
and I'm a guy who put a gun to his head and pulled the trigger. So what better?
Yeah.
I know what suicide's like. I
You
know
know
what it's
know the
like.
characteristics
Yeah.
of people.
Right. And
You
so
know
I
it
can only
from
do
firsthand.
that.
You don't know it from, like a psychologist would read manuals and stuff. They don't have you've seen it, you've done it, you've been there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who else better to experience and explain the signs and symptoms or how to recognize it from somebody who's been there, not by somebody who does it by textbook, and that's the best way,
And
man.
nobody knew it. Nobody ever knew it.
Yeah.
But I'm sure if they look back now, I'm sure that they would all say, yes. Now that all of the guys at the police department, now that they are educated, and now that they've been through it with you and they have been educated on the signs and symptoms, I'm sure they can look back to that time and say, yep, he had that symptom, that
Sure.
symptom, that symptom.
Yep. They're so big into technology now and cameras and everything else, and putting every effort into either protecting the officer or protecting citizens or whatever. But they don't look at something. The oldest thing in history that's been going on is suicides and law enforcement and signs and symptoms of post-traumatic stress. What can evolve into, weak people can't decipher they have post-traumatic stress. They just think it's depression, the world's over, coupled with, the stress from the job, coupled with maybe they're in debt, coupled with relationships, and it all compiles, and it's easy to detect
Trauma.
if you know, if
Just
trauma,
any kind of trauma.
if you know the person, and it can be anybody. It doesn't have to be, we discussed it before, doesn't have to be somebody in law enforcement. It could be your neighbor, who witnessed a traumatic accident.
We're just,
And then you see the changes that he's going through.
Right. And there are very specific criteria for post-traumatic stress. I don't know them all off the top of my head, but the flashbacks and the sensationalism, many very specific things that have to occur for PTSD. But then we have the depression and the anxiety, and then all of those coupled together.
I have
like a
I have a
ticking
thing
time
that I
bomb.
printed, and I think I left it home. I had it for last week when we were supposed to be on air, and it was something that the agency put out in our DMS.
Yes.
It was a pamphlet on post-traumatic stress.
Power DMS.
Yeah, and it had it, recognize, the signs and symptoms and what to look for. I'm just kicking your camera there, producer Jesse. I don't know if it looks good. So I forgot that, but I highlighted a lot of things and the symptoms that it was like a chart. But we're gonna
Power DMS. That's what I was asking Doug Levine to find for me. So we all know. I'm not going. You and I can say this because we're retired. But Power DMS, that's what the mental health in, because I remember one of the Cocoa guys called me and said they did it and it was ridiculous because
they
as
don't
well
even
as
read
I
it.
do, you don't read it. You
No,
know
you
the end. If you can't answer the questions, like when I was in dope, hey, you know the answer to this one, and or you make the rookie do it and keep all the answers and everybody else comes in behind them and do it. We just had this conversation
That's
with some
cheating.
Chiefs this week. No,
Ooh.
it's not.
Yeah, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, man.
I could be listening, man.
If you ain't
So-
cheating, you ain't trying.
But I had this conversation with some Chiefs this weekend, and they said the same thing. They don't believe in the Power DMS way. It's not effective.
Well,
It's
they
not gonna
don't
do
even
it.
have to read it. They can just sign it and move on. They can tell, because what happens is when you screw up, they'll go back and see if you read that policy, and say it's 15 pages long and you were on it for 3 seconds and clicked on it.
Right.
Guess what? They covered their ass. Now you're on the limb, for failing to read it.
I'm a speed reader.
Yeah.
I got that from the Great Space
So
Coaster.
some
when I
people-
was-
You
Some
don't
people
read
will-
anything.
Some people will go on there. We got so much and packed, and I shouldn't even have talked for the first 15 minutes about crazy new stuff. But I want to touch base with Doug on this. He's got an event coming up Friday, so any of my local people that are here, Doug, if you want to explain what's going on Friday for your foundation, and then we'll jump right into your. We'll talk about your African safari real quick, and then we're gonna wrap it up after that. But yeah, we got so much to talk about. It's just like because we haven't talked in a while. So tell us what's going on this Friday night, Doug, and what the cause is.
So Friday night, like I said earlier, sorry Jesse, I'm blowing your ears out. And I want
It's about time we got some volume on you.
I want a camera on him, man. It's not fair, man. So anyway, like I said earlier, the dirty ore.
The dirty ore.
Aggie got me messed up with the dirty whore, but so the Dirty Ore brewery here in Cocoa Village. So they made this wonderful beer for us to help us raise money. It has been a busy year for us, man. We're and all we do is fundraise. Nobody, all the money goes to cops, and one person or one firefighter we put in treatment could break the bank,
Yeah.
And so they went out of their way. They're helping us raise money. They've made this beer. They've allocated 100% of the proceeds to us. And so we're released. They're doing it. They're having a release party for the beer Friday night, June 28th.
From 7 to 11.
7 to 11. B&H Gun Rack gave us a box full of stuff to raffle today. No firearms, guys, but a bunch of cool stuff in there. We got some from Bobby's Parkside for the ladies. And
some beautiful necklaces and earrings that she donated for raffle.
All right, this is for cops, man. We don't care about that.
Yeah.
Bring your ladies.
And there might be some wives showing up. But anyway, so Friday night, we're going to do that. It's going to be a great time. And so let me just time out. I got to say this, man.
Okay.
I got to get this
But
in.
I got to say this too.
So it was brought up to me because Survive First provides a lot of treatment in different, whether alcoholism, drugs, mental health. Well, my answer to him was, listen, yeah, man, I had to go to treatment for alcoholism and stuff like that. I don't have a problem with it. Not every cop has a problem with alcohol. Sometimes on the way home from work or whatever, cop goes home and sits in his backyard and has a beer. That could be what helps him that day, calms him down from a bad call or something. So no, it's not a bad idea. If you do have a problem with alcohol, then don't drink it. Don't come or support us in another way.
Right.
I need to get that little, what do they call that,
Yeah.
public service announcement out.
Yeah,
I wanted to make, because there's
Yeah.
a bunch of haters out there, and if you don't like it, too freaking bad. I don't care. So the other thing is, so there's going to be food there. There's going to be a bunch of cool stuff going down. Please come out and support us. And plus, man, come have a good time. Come see everybody. There's going to be, it's going to be busy, man. We got a lot of people coming. It's going to be pretty neat. And then Karen's giving me the eye.
I am. I'm giving you the eye because this is actually important information. We are going to be offering a $5 discount For anyone who comes to the Dirty Oar on Friday night and registers for our Run for Responders 5K, which is going to be January 4th of 2020. We had such a successful event this past January, and the event sold out, and it sold out quickly. Registration's already open, and the early registration fee is $25. But if you come on Friday and you register on Friday, it will only be $20. So that's a pretty good deal. But you must be there in order to register.
Wow.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah.
The 5K is
the 5K is awesome.
Man, so that's going to be January 2020.
January 4th, 2020.
Okay. Well, hopefully it'll be cooled off by then because right now
it was hot
horrible.
last
Oh
year.
my God! I tell you what, I feel like I'm in Africa right now with the way the damn weather is.
It was cold
holy
in
crap.
Africa.
Yeah, dude, it's like 40.
I don't know.
Yeah, it was
and
really
people
cold.
want to say it's the ozone layers being eaten up. You know, and they're blaming us for using aerosol cans and shit.
You know you got freaking Lefty over here. She don't even let us get
Notice
quiet.
how
She don't even-
quiet
she
I
don't even
was
put the
earlier
fruit.
in the conversation.
We get in arguments in the produce section. I'm like, can you put, she buys 8 apples and carries them to the car. I'm like, put them in the bag. No. It'll kill the whales.
Oh yeah. I don't use the bags. So we're kind of like moving right along, but we got so much, man. But we're probably going to have to go over a few minutes. But I want to touch base with you guys. And again, thank you so much for what you do with Survive First. It's an extremely important topic. It's a serious condition, as you can tell. There's more suicides every year. It never fails, unfortunately. It's a number that does not seem to decrease. It seems to increase every year. Mm-hmm. So whatever Doug and Karen are doing and trying to prevent and provide awareness to agencies in any way they can't do it without the support from people who believe in what they're doing and support financially, donations, support their cause by going to do the run events, the Dirty Oar events.
You can donate on our webpage.
Yep, they've said it before. Donate on their webpage. I don't know if it's tax deductible. Is it?
Yes,
Yes, it is. So
we're a nonprofit.
Nonprofit. So yeah, anything that will help them to continue, because this is not. Well, fortunately, she works, and fortunately for Doug, he's retired and does draw an income. But, yeah, right on. But
Just
it's
four
still
more weeks.
Yeah. What's in 4 more weeks?
Jeez.
Oh,
Me, I'm retired from what?
No, your pension.
oh,
Oh, yeah, my pension kicks in August 1st.
oh, that's right. Oh man, okay, I
I
thought you'd
left
been
2 years early, but they paid me. Kogo paid me for 2 years
Right.
to get me by.
Well, it's very expensive to do the things that they're doing, and believe me, they're running at below cost what it would really cost. I'm sure they're digging into their own pockets to keep this cause going. They do a lot of traveling. They do have some people that do sponsor them with things, but without the efforts of they do fundraisers and stuff. So that's all they ask is just show up to these fundraisers. Kick in something. They might have a bucket out there. I don't know what they'll have, but there's raffles and stuff, and everything that you contribute goes directly towards them. And it's for them to continue this effort of preventing, to try to bring that number down, man. To bring the number down below the. I mean, it sounds crazy, but below the line of duty deaths. So I mean, it's they're never going to be solved, just like the line of duty deaths are never going to be cured.
No, but you know what? I tell people one is better than none.
Yeah.
I just one is better than none.
Yeah.
I mean, it's about time we step our game up and do something. But I wanted to add to you, one of the coolest things about this event is, like when we did the 5K was to bring the community to the police to see how pretty cool we are.
Mm-hmm.
And to the firefighters. Everybody loves the firefighters, so I'm just going to say the
Yeah.
cops.
Every
right?
holiday they get all the food delivered.
They got calendars with their
Yeah.
shirts off. You know what I mean? We just get get our asses kicked every week, and
they get all the free food
call
delivered,
us
and then they give
names.
us the leftovers.
Yeah, but I love them, man. They're
Yeah.
all a bunch of great guys.
Nothing works without them. They're a necessary.
Yeah, we're on the same team,
yeah.
man. We do a lot of work with the fire department, and it's always kind of weird because I'm a cop coming in there, but we've always been treated wonderful.
Sure.
So what I'm trying to get at is we have these events and the community comes out in a big crowd and only a couple cops show up, and so sometimes
it's always
we
Doug,
look like
Doug,
idiots.
that is
I
something
know,
that you'll never
we got
never fix, man. They're the biggest procrastinators, I'm telling you, and that's anything.
It works, and I know it works because what's most impressive is that I get calls from deputies in Brevard, and I mean, we get calls from all over the nation. But when I get calls within Brevard or even Orlando, stuff like that, and I get calls from guys that I kind of know, that I've worked with over the years, especially like the SO, and, we worked side by side. I know them, but I don't really know them like that. And when they call and say, hey, I got a buddy or whatever, it really feels good because people are listening and people believe in it and it works. And not only are we helping people, but other cops are saving other cops' lives.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So
I mean, we're
cool.
I mean, those guys, the guys you work with, your coworkers, are the first ones to recognize, because family, they just think, "Why, you're pissed off, man? What's wrong with you? Get a freaking life. Get. But we are the ones who know the signs and symptoms and what to look for. So, but yeah. Again, thank you guys for what you do and continue to do. It's never been gone unrecognized, and people don't want to bring it out and say thank you for what you do, because
Thank you.
it's a lot of stuff that you guys do behind the scenes that that most people don't recognize. I'd like to see us get more involved with the sheriff's office is the biggest agency in the county, and I just hope they welcome you in there when it comes to speaking. It seems like there might be some resistance, and I don't know, but you just keep plugging away, and hopefully sometimes it takes a tragedy to open their eyes up to see. I don't think the SO's had anybody.
If they do, I'll say it. They're pretty good about their keeping their stuff to themselves, and I commend them for that.
Yeah.
But I communicate a lot with guys from the SO, and it may not be the big dogs because they
Right.
obviously CYA. We all get it, but the guys and the girls, I communicate with quite a few. They actually rallied for one of their employees and did something wonderful this year. We communicate, so they believe in it. And I just met with she's Lieutenant Joanna. Is it Siegel? I'm bad with names.
Yep.
I had a great conversation with her. She's on
good.
board. She takes care of her people, and that's cool. That's all right. I'm good with that.
So let me ask you this: a yes or no? Yes or no? Very simple. And there's the train.
There's the
9 o'clock train. And a yes or no, and then I'm going to jump right in, and I'm going to hear a little bit about your African trip. Yes or no? Do you feel like there are, in this entire county, all the agencies we have and all the patrol officers out there, that there is officers that are working currently that are suffering and fighting the demons of either post-traumatic stress, unrecognized, and or thoughts of suicide?
Yes, over
Absolutely.
50% of them.
Yeah.
9 out of 10 even in some
That's
places.
pretty strong, and that's and who knows
That's
what
shame.
brings them to cross over to actually, follow through with that. Whatever they're doing not to do it is good, but I'm sure that it just takes one thing to trigger them, and then they just go over. And let's hopefully that that never happens. But our law enforcement officers are they're the backbone to this agency or to the county, and let's hope that never happens. And hopefully that the times you get out there that you touch them, even though you don't speak directly to them, they listen and they're just afraid to say something, and they overhear it and they kind of try to get themselves straight and maybe reach out for help.
Nobody really wants to complete suicide.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody does. So it's up to us to get to them before they get to that final straw where they feel like
I don't think it's
nobody
easy.
cares.
I don't think it's easy.
No.
I don't think it's easy.
I don't think so.
But sometimes when you make it, it's like, not that I've ever known anybody that personally, but it's like as that trigger or whatever they're doing, or they ingest something, which that is it's a slow death, and if they ingest like chemicals or bleach or whatever. But as that trigger is being pulled or whatever they're doing, they're probably thinking, oh no. Yeah. And then either they get, or it's too late. I think before the act is committed, they have a second thought, and then they can't go back. You can't retract what you did. So hopefully,
I
but
didn't.
what's that? Yeah, well, there was another cause on that one. That just didn't go right. So which it went right, but it didn't go right.
Yeah, thank God.
So real quick, we're gonna talk real quick because I know there's so much to cover on your Africa trip, but I want you guys to tell me, when did you go? How long were you there? And give us some highlights that you guys experienced in Africa. And what did you have to do to prep yourself to go there? I mean, was there any kind of things you had to be concerned with as far as
Malaria.
Malaria, that's the big thing. So go ahead.
Listen, the only thing I had to prep for is buy my wife a $30 freaking hat she probably didn't wear.
Did she wear it?
Africa pants, Jesse, Africa pants,
That's, yeah. Sort of like
Did
Disney.
you even wear that freaking hat?
Once.
Once.
Yeah, sort of like Disney. They
I
go
bought
to buy
another
these,
hat there.
They buy those ridiculous hats or shit from Disney. and
$30 Columbia
they
hat.
wear
I
it
got
there.
a Booney hat in my closet. I got tons of.
They wear it there, but they'll never wear it again.
Yeah.
It's like garbage. But,
Bastards, man.
so when did you fly out there?
June 5th.
I don't
Okay.
remember.
June
anything.
5th. We were there
I
for
drank the whole time.
June 5th to, I think, June 14th we got back. And we were in the middle of the bush.
How many
safari.
days or how many times did you go out into the actual field with your okay, it's empty.
It's
empty.
It's
empty.
So every morning we would get a knock on our door at 5 a.m. And we would have to be on the vehicle by 6 a.m.
Was it daylight in Africa at 5 a.m.?
No, dark. And it was cold in the morning. I mean, we were freezing. We had hot water bottles shoved up in our shirts and blankets. And yeah, it was really cold. And you'd spend about three and a half hours out on safari. Then you'd come back, eat breakfast, and then we would go on a walking safari for about an hour and a half.
And you would see these animals that you saw in your walking.
Yeah, we came across a herd of about 40 elephant, really close. It's very scary when you're on foot because the rules are much, much different.
Yeah, you ain't got nothing to shield yourself with.
When you're in the vehicle, the animals look at the vehicle almost as a large animal. You can't stand up in the vehicle. You're not allowed to. You could, but you're singled out. But when you are on foot, you are singled out. So the rules are much different. You walk in single file line. There's absolutely no talking. And we came around this corner of this dry riverbed.
Went down into the river.
Yeah, into the riverbed.
For the winter.
And there were about 40 elephant, and they are gigantic, and they had lots of babies, and so they were not very happy that we were there. So we had to crouch down, and my poor mother, she was terrified because she had been charged by an elephant on a safari once, and so she just sat there for like 10 minutes.
We were all
just
laying against the river.
stare.
Like not
Poor
moving.
thing.
So you saw elephants.
Oh,
We seen it all.
You see tigers, lions.
not tigers. That's Asia, but
Okay, whatever. What the fuck?
lions,
A cat.
cheetahs, leopards, elephants, hyenas.
And within close proximity.
This close.
I did see the video of the elephant
Of
that
the
was like
elephant?
staring at you guys, just
No.
looking at you.
That was him.
That was- yeah, and you had your head down like you didn't want to look at it.
Listen, man.
It was this close.
Because some smart ass in the safari field goes, "Oh, you ain't such a badass now." And I said, "No, I am a badass, but I know my limits."
Not
Okay?
against
And that
an
bitch was
elephant.
like 3 stories
Yeah.
tall.
Oh yeah, he
okay?
had fucking big giant tusk.
And he's like, from me to Jesse. And I can see his beady ass, like for such a big animal, he's got a little
Yeah.
eyeball. And he was, and I was like, "Listen, you gonna get me, but I'm gonna punch you in your face. If I'm gonna get killed, I'm gonna get one licking." That's what I said to Chuck. I'm gonna get one in. And so and Karen's got the video. So the the guide, so there's a tracker who's a local on the front. He sits in that little chair.
Yeah, I
out
saw
in front
that,
of the
yeah.
vehicle, like
The point man.
yeah, he's cool too. So anyway, he's like, don't flash him. Like he was
Like with
pissed,
the
dude. He had
camera.
the ears
Oh.
out, and my brother-in-law is
Fuckers.
sitting in front of me, and all of a sudden you see flash,
Oh,
and I
yeah.
go, "You mother!" I was just
And
like,
the
I'm
elephant's
like
ears,
this.
you know.
I was frozen because
Yeah.
this dude. So they do stuff to let you know they're about to whoop your ass. They'll put their like tusk over
Their
or their
trunk.
trunk over their tusk, and then this foul man. The men have the ability to shoot their junk out. And
it's
of course,
like,
all the women try to be cool, like, because, you know, this telephone pole from hell shoots
yeah,
out,
it's
right?
crazy.
So we all,
It's
and they bang it on the ground. Yeah, they do. They can reach the ground. And then they bang. I was more like, hey, man, you touch me with that thing, we gonna fight for real,
Whoa.
man. And so so he was given the signs, and so basically they just say, hey, don't move, just chill out, he'll walk away. You know, if
he did.
See, everything in Africa, if you run, you're prey. Everything runs. Like all the animals all day long. It's like the cartoons. All they do is wake up and all day long go, oh God, I hope this thing don't kill me. And that's how they spend their day. And so you have to remain calm, and you know, and they do. Like he came up from me to Jesse and was like sniffing and staring me down. Obviously he realized I was crapping my pants, and he moved on.
So what do these point men have in case shit goes south?
Man, they got some raggedy ass shit. It's a big bullet. And you think I would know this? It's
Probably like a 50 cal or something.
It's a step up. And unless any of the guys are listening, they could tell us. It's a step up from the 300 Win Mag. And it's a pretty damn big bullet. But the gun doesn't make me happy. It didn't look too appealing.
Right, yeah.
It looks like something you give your 13-year-old for
I was
his
like,
first.
like no scope, like to be precision.
Well,
and
fuck, if
what's
they're that
funny,
close, you don't need a goddamn scope.
Every year or 2 years in a row, the guy goes, hey, Doug, man, if something happens, I'm throwing you the rifle because you won't miss. I'm like, dude, for real, man? Like, what kind of shit y'all got me on?
So Karen had showed me before the show a video that they had at night of a
It was
lion.
It was
lion.
two lionesses, and they had killed a zebra, so they had been eating it all day. And we had seen them in the morning, and we came back at night, and it was pitch dark. And
The same ones are still there
the
eating.
same
it?
ones were still there eating. Their
Jeez.
bellies were full, and the hyenas had started to move in, but it started with maybe like 2 hyena, and they come in. And it didn't work because 2 hyena against 2 lionesses is not going to work. So they run off, and they start howling and laughing and baby crying. I mean, the sounds.
Like 100 different sounds. Really
so
scary, man.
40 minutes, there were probably like 4 or 5 different attack waves in 45 minutes. And every one, they would call more hyena, and more hyena would show
How
up.
far did that voice travel to alert?
They said like 8 miles.
Oh my God.
It's frightening at one point, because at night, not on all the animals, but on the cats and the hyena, you can shine a spotlight on them, and it doesn't bother their eyes. Any other animal, they don't, because then it blinds
Right.
them and it makes them prey. So they had the spotlight on these animals, and then at one point they turned the spotlights off. And for about, it felt like it was an hour, but it was probably 60 seconds. And you could just hear the cackling and laughing surrounding us. You could hear them breathing, just surrounding us and the lions. And it was frightening.
It's militaristic.
Yeah.
It's an assault. They'll
Wow.
send, so there was 2 lions, and 2 lions could probably take out 12 hyena, right? So they send 2 in. Or they'll send a wave, and it's funny how they're in sync, and
They
what they
move
do is
together.
they see how many there
They're
are.
very strategic.
And
man.
then they come, and then they see what they're going to do, and then they leave, and they come back with more, and they see their strengths and weakness, and you got to watch the video. The whole thing goes down. It's really pretty cool.
Wow.
But I seen this lion go from probably 40 yards, and he hits his hyena in the face, and he launched the hyena right in the side of the safari truck next to us.
In
And
one leap. I mean, it's amazing the distance they can cover in 1 second flat.
But then the coolest thing of the whole part was it was about to go down. Like it was about to, like the fight was about to
Right.
happen. And then there were 2 sisters, females, and what they did
Lions.
was 2 female lions. They went head to head, and they hooked their heads and rubbed,
Like
and then
house
they went
cats.
head to tail, and they wrapped their tails around each other's head. And what the guide told us was that was them letting each other know,
Reassuring.
I got your back. We're
was
about
pretty
to
neat.
fight. I'm here. I'm with
To the
you.
death.
Like, let's go. And man, I'll tell you, they hyenas outnumbered them and ran them off. But I seen a couple them lions get a couple licks in. Man, like
Wow.
ferocious.
We had one night we were coming from dinner, and we were walking. It was me, Doug, and my sister, and we were walking down the sidewalk to go to our our little lodges, and there was a hyena walking down the sidewalk toward us.
Dude, bro,
Looking for scraps.
it's
Oh.
It was
freaking
crazy.
scary.
Wow.
Good time.
Well, I'd love to talk to you guys more about it, but we're on overtime here with Jesse. We already had the 9 o'clock train go through.
Thanks, Jesse.
So the final thoughts on this African safari, I mean, I'm sure you guys recommend that for anybody. And all this goes down, all these events where you see these animals are within how many feet?
Right next to you.
Right next to you.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
touch
This
them.
guy's
It's-
afraid of clowns and stuff, but he'll stare an elephant in the face,
I was
It's-
scared then too.
It's scary, but I think that we have some amazing pictures. But what we tell people is that our pictures and our stories, they don't do it justice. We brought two friends with us this time, and they had seen our pictures, and just on the first day, they were in awe. They couldn't believe that they were actually sitting there. In
So
the
this
little
second
wilderness.
time you went, now this is the second time, did you stay at the same place and it's the same thing? And what is the name of that place?
Elephant Plains Game Lodge. It's in Sabi Sands, which is it's part of Kruger National Park, but it's a game reserve.
And these animals are there all, and they're not fenced in, so they're
No,
they know where to go.
no. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow,
they-
man.
they're
I think the
nothing.
closest thing you can get to in this state is Lion Country Safari down in Loxahatchee.
Or what's that place at Disney?
Animal Kingdom.
Animal Kingdom. Man, them things are all drugged up, man.
This
I've
is
never
the-
seen one even on its
this-
four legs.
this
Fuckers are always laying around
We-
all drugged up.
We even got in a
stoned.
wild dog hunt, man, with the wild dogs. It's pretty cool. The coolest part is, and we'll wrap it up, the coolest part is it makes you come home and go, what the hell do I got to bitch about? We are a bunch of spoiled
Yeah.
babies
Oh,
in
yeah.
the United States. These people have nothing. They don't want nothing. They just care about
Yeah,
each other.
they're great.
They're amazing people. We've become friends with them. If you go on my Facebook, you'll see some of the guys that live
Yeah, I
there.
seen Karen had a bunch of kids.
Yeah, I
Yeah, she
visited
went
a
to the
primary
school.
school.
It's pretty
It was
cool.
amazing.
And we get to check out.
I'm sure they got offers for you for a school teacher over there. huh?
Oh man, I would go there in a heartbeat and teach
Yeah.
those kids. I brought stickers, and I mean they have nothing. It's like school with just concrete blocks and dirt. And we brought stickers and pencils, and the kids were just
Wow.
so
And
grateful.
The guys, the trackers and the guides, they asked me to come back with my guys, trained guys like yourself, to come there and train them. They have
Really?
no training, have no money. They want to
Oh,
learn
my
tactics.
God.
They don't even have we brought them flashlights. I brought them night vision. They don't even have gear. They don't make that kind of money, and we come over there and it's kind of embarrassing in a sense, but because they work for little and they have they work to buy a brick to build,
to
their,
build
home.
their home.
Are you freaking kidding
No
me?
running water.
And they got a crap out in the backyard in a bucket with and they have to bring somebody with them to look around, make sure no lions in
Yeah.
the backyard.
Wow.
Get ready to take them out.
Well.
Think of that when you go home tonight.
Well, I want to welcome you guys back on, man. That is I think everybody should experience that and actually see the great wealth that we have over here. The little things that we take for granted, those things, it's like a life-changing experience for them, So I want to thank producer Jesse for providing the studio tonight on a Wednesday night at a late night at 8 o'clock. I want to thank Karen and Doug for showing up tonight, giving us some updates on Survive First. Like I said, we just have so much. I haven't seen them and talked to them in a while, so there's just so much to go. We could probably go on and on and on. I cut Survive First short. I didn't think it was going to go on this far, but I shouldn't even have talked about the bullshit that I started out with, and I kind of can't go back now. But
That's all right. I
man, we got-
forgive you.
yeah, but
We got the message.
for those that are watching this and looking at the 2020 Democratic, which I don't even give two shits about, it's fucking comic relief. But again, support our country, support our president, support the things that he's doing. If you have issues with the way this country's doing and what the route they're taking, then get the hell out and don't be so damn critical.
The best thing was ever told to me when I forget. I'll remember somebody told me, if you don't like the way the boss is doing the job, take his job and do it yourself.
Yeah. So, producer Jesse, thank you. Again, we had some technical difficulties last week, but we'll be back on. We're going to try to stay consistent. Hopefully next week I'll have AJ with Beaumont Builders, who's going to be co-chair. We'll have a new name coming up if he's going to be all in, and we'll have an opportunity to have more shows because, again, I fund all this by myself, and it's stress relief for me. So the more assistance I can get from if I want to have somebody join on and be a duo, it'd be great to have. It's good. It's a good relaxing thing. You get to voice your own opinions. You can say what you want and unedited. So again, thanks Doug. Thanks Karen. Glad you guys made it back safe from Africa.
Thank you.
Gonna take a lot to drag me away from you. There's nothing that 100 million man could ever do. So, hey, thanks again. Hey, go to Dirty Ore Friday night if you got time. Saturday, 7 o'clock. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Support Survive First. Check out their website, man. Survive First. On Facebook, survivefirst.us. Get involved. I mean, anything helps, man. Even just support, man. That's all they recognition. Share it. Share their Facebook page, whatever it is, man. Get that word out. Thanks again, Jesse, for your providing everything tonight. You did a great job. And actually, the air was pretty cool tonight. So thank you again, everybody. Have a great night. They already got their headphones off. They're fucking done, man. I'm like, shit.
It's past my bed.
You gotta watch Lost.
I'm tired. I go to bed at 8.
All right. Have a good night, everybody. And God bless.